Today's guest is Ben Bertucci, the man behind the best film I've seen in recent memory. One of One is a documentary about a Japanese family of car mechanics. This is a horrible description and also vague for a reason. I watched the movie twice in 2 days for reference, and it was during the second viewing that I reached out to Ben to invite him on this show. Thankfully, he's the kind of person to check his DMs. I don't want to share too many of my thoughts on the movie because you should see it for yourself. However, I will say there are several things here which may be considered spoilers, so please do watch it prior to listening to this if it's a concern. Thank you so much for listening, and please enjoy my episode with Ben. I'm your host, Wesley Smith, and you're listening to the Standard Age Podcast.
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I got my microphone is just off camera here because
Totally fine. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, so that's awesome.
okay, great.
So you're in Idaho.
Yes, I am.
Are you from Idaho?
No, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, okay. Which I also love Chicago as well. So what took you to Idaho?
Freedom, mountains,
Yeah.
peace of mind. I like shooting in the city, but yeah, I just need quiet when I'm editing.
Yeah.
There's just so much to think about when you're editing. It's like the layers of things going on. It's like like the highway noise, the city noise, the sirens, you know what I mean? It just doesn't mix well with editing. In
Well, so
LA, whenever they got those editors that when they work on those big movies, they put them in basements, with no windows, no lights, because yeah, you got to be totally just, you know,
dialed in.
yeah.
So I imagine you travel constantly anyway. So I bet going back and forth to the places like Chicago's, the LA's, the Tokyo's, getting back to Idaho is probably soothing.
Yeah, and it's so easy, man. Like my trips to Tokyo, like I go from Boise to Seattle to Haneda.
Yeah.
Like going through security at Boise is like, hey, Ben.
Okay, so are you based in Boise or do you
I'm
drive in?
outside. I'm like about 45 minutes outside in a little farming town, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time. I guess I didn't start with that. And congrats on the movie. It's something else we'll get to. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Is this the question that you ask where people have to date themselves so you can figure out how old they are?
No, not at all. It's more about the taste in music at whatever age you were.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Chicago, and so I really, I mean, I think I went to like maybe like a UB40 concert or some like heavy metal like Def Leppard or something like that that was like a birthday party thing, but like I was really into the clubbing and DJ scene, so like by the time I was like 14, I was like sneaking into raves or there was a place in Chicago back in the 90s called Medusa's.
Okay.
18 and over club, but you could get in if you just kind of. So we would do, I was really into DJs and stuff like that, house music. And so those were kind of the first sort of pivotal music events for me. The other stuff was like birthday parties.
Right, sure, sure. So no like House of Blues stories or whatever. So
But House of Blues is later. I mean, I'm mid 40s, so I'm a little bit older. I mean, maybe, I don't know about the House of Blues in Chicago, but I thought they were, I don't know. I don't know. Were they open back in the early 90s?
yeah, I don't know. I'm 45, so
Okay, cool.
I don't I actually don't know. I mean, my first time to Chicago was in college, so like call it 2000, maybe 99 was my first time to Chicago. I grew up in North Carolina, so I had a buddy that went to Art Institute right there on State Street.
Yeah,
Um, it was great. I still love Chicago.
yeah.
I like it a lot. I've jokingly called it a clean New York several times.
That's
But
accurate. At least
yeah,
some neighborhoods.
yeah. Yeah, that's cool. What was your first car then?
Oof. Well, you watched the movie, so you know I'm not like a car. I was never like a car person, so
Well, yeah, exactly. And I actually want to ask you about that too. But what was,
Yeah,
or were you riding the L in Chicago, or what were you doing?
yeah. Yeah, I had, I don't know how deep into it you want to go, but I had a bit of I'm a high school dropout, so I left school when I was about 15, ran around for a couple of years on the streets and doing other crazy stuff, and had jobs. Moved to California when I was like 17.
Oh wow, was that L.A. or where'd you end
No,
up?
I actually got sent to a sort of boarding school kind of thing that was up in the San Bernardino Mountains.
Okay,
So, yeah.
interesting.
My first car was like, I think it was when I got back to Chicago after California, and I think, I think I inherited my mom's. My dad had a Land Cruiser that he sold that I'll never forgive him for, but
Right. Yeah.
and my mom had like a manual Subaru Impreza wagon or something like a 92,
Sick.
91.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun because you could like drift it and it was manual. So it was yeah, it was a lot of fun. You could really rip in that thing, man.
Oh man, that's amazing. What did your folks do for work?
They're both lawyers.
Oh, okay. Cool.
They're divorced. Yeah, they were divorced when I was super young, but yeah, they're both lawyers.
I see. Um, did you end up going to college or anything after that?
Yeah, I mean, I did some pickup stuff, but I never graduated.
Right,
Usually,
right.
like if I was living, like I lived in New Orleans for a while and Baton Rouge for a while, and like I would take a class, I would sign up because it was so cheap. I would sign up and it would be strictly so that I could get access to a dark room because I was taking a lot of black and white photos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I would be like, yeah, I'll take an elective and photography, and then I would just go to photography and I would get like free access to the dark room and shit like that. So
Oh, that's sick. What were you shooting with back then?
yeah, I mean anything I could get my hands on, really. I mean, I would shoot with all kinds of stuff, Canons or
Yeah.
mostly 35 millimeter stuff, but like yeah, I mean nothing fancy. It wasn't like wasn't a Leica guy back then. It was really just whatever I could find.
Are you like a guy now?
No, I don't take too much film. I mean, I did shoot a lot of film. I have an M6,
Cool.
but yeah, I think I sold my lenses to fund the Naito projects.
Oh, is that right? That's crazy.
Well, because I couldn't shoot with my Leica glass on my Sonys for the Naito thing, so I was like, well, I'll when the film sells and I make tons of money, then I'll buy those lenses again.
Wow. Okay. So do you own the film
All
then
in, dude. I
outright?
was all in, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you gotta be. Gosh, Baton Rouge. Did you ever go to shows at the Varsity?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when I moved to LA from North Carolina, I went the southern route and I went through Baton Rouge. And that
Yeah.
was the only night I didn't stay with friends along the way. And so I ended up at a show at the Varsity. It's the only show I've ever been to there.
Yeah.
So it
It
was
was a
kind of
good
funny.
town, man.
Yeah, it was a good time. And then I ended up subsequently having a roommate from Baton Rouge later on, and I see him all the time now. So that's cool. When did you sort of come to the conclusion, or like when did you think you wanted to be a filmmaker?
I mean, maybe 2006 or 7. Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I had a company with my best friend. We did advertising work in Chicago, and yeah, we got a job. I was taking a lot of photos still all the time, and digital cameras, and I think the Canon 5D had just come out, and so I think that came out in like 2007.
okay,
But yeah, so it was like I was taking lots of pictures, and then we got some jobs doing like photo and video work with our advertising gigs. Like we did all this kind of like experimental marketing stuff. And I was like, damn, I really like shooting stuff.
yeah.
And the financial sort of crisis happened, and my partner and I sort of, I don't know, we kind of he decided he was going to focus more on fine art, and he's quite successful now. And I decided I wanted to become a filmmaker, so we sort of split up the assets. He stayed in Chicago, I moved to LA, and I just went after it, dude.
Oh wow. Okay. What was it was there like a an initial project that is like a standout piece of work for you that you're like still hold your hat on, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean this Naito film.
Okay, so this is like the big one because I know you've done a lot of cinematography, and for people listening that don't really understand what that means, like what does a cinematographer do that say I don't know a camera operator doesn't do, a director doesn't do, certainly the actors don't do, or whoever
Yeah.
the subject.
Yeah, I mean the cinematographer or the DP, the director of photography, as it's also known, is like is one of the many jobs, on a film set that, and this one in particular is just about framing and lighting.
Hmm.
That's a more traditional sense. I mean, for me, I mean, to be honest, man, the job titles don't really mean anything. I was when I first got to LA, I um just basically tried to learn as much as I could. So I got jobs. I really didn't even know how to make movies or how it was done. So the first place I went was I read a lot of books. I took a couple courses, like a couple workshops, and then I tried to get internships with production companies or jobs. I couldn't get jobs. I got laughed out of a couple production companies because I like for instance, I went to Oliver Stone's production company in Santa Monica and just like walked in with my resume.
Sick.
And they were like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really want a job." And they were like, "What? You don't just come here and ask for a job. It just doesn't work." They like just laughed, and they were like, "All right." I went to Roger Corman's place. They were nice. They didn't hire me, but they were nice. And then eventually, I don't know why I thought this, but I sent a fax to a production company called Groundswell. They did a few like indie hits. And they were like, they got back to me. They were like, "Why the hell did you send a fax? That's so interesting. And why don't you come on in and meet us?" And I got a job. I got an internship with Groundswell, and that entailed basically just sitting at a desk and like answering phones and doing errands. But I was like in a production company, and it was like there was producers and executives and you know, and I went from them, and then they recommended me to a company called Appy and Way, which is Leonardo DiCaprio's company.
Okay.
So I interned with them for about 8 months, and that was nice. I mean, they were great people again. But the weirdest thing was that I interned at two production companies, and neither one of them in the whole time that I was working there ever made a movie. And I was
Huh.
like, this is not, this is not what I want to be doing.
This production company's not really producing.
Yeah, so what they do basically, and I don't mean to like, pull the wool back at all here, but I mean, for instance, what they do at DiCaprio's company mainly is they get Leo's name associated with cool projects. So like if it's a project that Leo is involved in, they'll help his team will help sort of negotiate production and executive production credits. I mean, if it's another film that they just like, they'll figure out how to get their company involved in it so that they can get credit and they can get, if the film does well and they can help it move along.
Sure.
So, so that's really the sort of level of production that those larger companies do, those higher up companies. So I knew I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make,
Wow.
you know,
Yeah, it's almost like buying stock in a company. Like, oh, this I can see this going up, so let me just get a few shares while it's going up, you know? Like it's
yeah.
that's interesting. I never knew that. Wow. Um so you've mentioned the Naito doc, Naito Engineering, which obviously is based in Japan. It's called One of One, which we don't really it's not as on the nose as you think until the end, right? Which I won't spoil it. Which was cool how that sort of unfolded there in those last few clips. Really, really cool. Um, and based on my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, this all sort of started in like 2018. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, okay. Um, what was going on in 2018? Like, how did this start? It like you already mentioned you're not a car guy, so to focus on a family in Japan, no less, that's certainly living, breathing cars. Like, why? You know?
Yeah, I mean, back then I was really doing everything I could to make money
Yeah.
as a filmmaker. And so I I was making basically short form YouTube content, for any sort of car channel that would pick it up. And so I was independent. I was out on my own, but I would pitch stories to different companies, you know, and try to get a buck here or there. And so I uh I scrounged up some money and found some stories in Japan because I figured, hey, look, this is just a great angle. It's like, and there was a few directors whose work I had seen that I was just like I was so envious of, and I was like, they were doing stuff that seemed so special.
And within cars specifically, or
Within
just
cars, yeah. I mean, there was a director named McGregor, who did a film called Building a Dream for Petrolicious, and I watched that and it just blew my mind because it had so much heart, and there was so much just feeling within that short little film about this man and this car that he built. And so, I don't know. And then I saw there's a director that's based in Tokyo named Luke Huxham, and I had seen his work and I was just like, holy crap, man, this is so unique.
hmm.
And he was focusing more on sort of newer cars. I mean, he did a lot of classic stuff too, but like I figured, well, gosh, I mean, there's got to be more stories out there. And so I just did some Google searching. I met a guy, an Australian guy, uh I mean, we connected online, and he uh he was sort of my boots on the ground in Tokyo. And yeah, I just sort of went over there and just kind of made it happen, you know.
Wow, that's crazy. Um, so this is obviously the biggest project you've ever worked on, would you say?
By far, yeah.
Yeah. You wore a lot of hats, it seems. Do
All the
you
hats.
So this was complete one man band solo project, no help.
Well, I mean, no, that's not true. I have investors, I have three investors, uh, and then one of the investors is also my producing partner. So, Jeff Martin, Kyoko Yamashita, and TJ Parker. And TJ, it was an investor and producer. So, yeah, I mean, really, Jeff was the first investor. Uh, and Jeff just, you know, believed in me I mean, yeah, I had never even made a film more than 10 minutes when I met Jeff and he agreed to become a part of it. So
Wow.
they trusted in me quite a bit. So,
How did you connect with those three?
yeah, well, let's see. Jeff, I made a film about him. Actually, I made a film about him for Petrolicious,
Okay,
and so I sold that to Petrolicious, and Jeff and I just sort of maintained a friendship, and we worked on other stuff outside of that car work together. So that's how I met Jeff. Kyoko, yeah, it was just through Instagram. She had a friend, I think, who I had messaged with before about maybe shooting his car, and he was like, "You should meet Kyoko." And so Kyoko came in after I had already sort of met the Naitos and started shooting with them. So,
cool.
um, and then TJ actually reached out to me through Instagram because TJ is a longtime customer of Visvim, which is a Japanese brand, and actually the owner of Visvim is a client of the Naitos. So that's how TJ found me through Visvim because I sort of am kind of on this sort of periphery of that whole world. So
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to ask you about that, but continue though. Oh, we'll come
yeah,
back to
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and so TJ just reached out to me. It was like, man, I love what you're doing. What are you up to these days? Yeah, and then I told him about Naito, and he's like, I'd love to help. So
So this is all like a lot of Instagram connections. That's so crazy. Because this is all pre Type 7, obviously.
yeah,
Which I think you've done some work with them as well.
yeah. Type 7 put out a few of my films. Yeah, they put out the teaser for the Naitos, which was like 4 years ago.
Okay, right.
And then yeah, and then I did a project with for Visvim, a couple films for the Visvim guys.
Got it. So you connected with Hiroki, I guess, through Naito.
That's right. Yep.
Wow, that's cool. Interesting. I'm a huge Visvim fan as somebody who owns my own apparel company. Like they're pretty goated, you as the kids would say. Why do you think Masao agreed to do the project to begin with?
You know, I think that they probably, they had not really filmed with anybody,
Right.
you know, and so I think that they, my guess is that, you know, he probably didn't know any better, and that they thought, well, this guy is a director from LA. My son likes him. It could be cool, you know.
Oh, okay. So you knew his son then. I guess is
Well,
that through
no,
the
I mean,
Visvim crew too?
no, I only knew the son, I met the son at the same time I met Masao, but like I hit it off really well with the son.
I see.
So Naito.
Yeah.
So and I really just kind of like we just had to kind of convince Masao to be in the filming, or to let us use the cars, as you will.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So so you shot it all on a Sony? Is that what you were saying
Well, many
earlier?
different Sonys, but yeah, in the
Yeah.
beginning it was like A7S and stuff like that. But yeah, towards the end it was the nicer cinema stuff, but
Okay.
yeah, Sony's. Yep.
I mean, the quality of the images, and I don't know what you did in post, but like it's just so beautifully shot, and like I
Thank
really
you.
um, appreciate sort of the framing, if you will.
Thank you.
Especially the lower shots along the road.
Yeah.
With like the sakura leaves, like or flowers, bouncing and dancing on the street. Like it's just so nice.
That was a magic day, man.
Wow. Was that like in April? I would take it.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
Early April, probably. I think it was, if I look, I think I looked back at the timestamp recently. It was like April 2nd or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing.
Maybe it was a little later. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it was in April. Yep.
Well, we talked briefly about music earlier. Like, what role did music play in this for you?
Oh, huge. Yeah, I mean, yeah, music was a huge part of it, man, because, you know, it's funny. I mean, you talked briefly about Instagram in the beginning, but really, this film, I didn't know how to make a feature film. I still not sure if I know how to. This is my attempt at it, and I think people seem to like it, so maybe I think I succeeded at it, but I still don't like, I love film. I've watched thousands of films, and it's still to me is like there's all the films that I've seen, and then there's mine. I still don't consider sort of my film to be in the same class. Just because it's me, I feel like it's not really a real film, maybe.
Right,
Or
right.
maybe it is though.
Little imposter syndrome.
Well, when you see it up there next to like the Led Zeppelin documentary on Apple, and then it's like my film, I'm like, holy shit, like I think I made a real movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, the reason I say that is because when I first started working with the Nightos and when I first started kind of getting some attention through Instagram, I started creating these kind of clips that I would share that was just pieces of my work. Sometimes it was like B-roll from shooting the streets of Tokyo, or sometimes it was just the Naitos working on an engine, you know. And I would put music to that, and people just like, I got so many great messages and so much good feedback that I basically used Instagram kind of as my sort of testing ground, where I would sort of put these clips together and put music with them and see if it kind of like, you know, basically if it got any sort of reaction out of people.
Wow.
The truth is that a lot of the sort of pieces, like there's some like musical interludes in the film, you know, driving sequences or city sequences or things like that. And a lot of those actually started as little clips from Instagram, you know.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So the music was huge because the music was like I would find artists like on SoundCloud, or I would be listening. Sometimes when I was shooting in the workshop, I would have one earphone in listening to like an ambient mixtape, you know, that I found on SoundCloud. And the music would just, I would just watch them work and hear this sort of rhythm. And it was just
It was already a soundtrack. Yeah.
like, you know, for instance, like the film opens with them working on this Ferrari, this blue 275 GTB4. And then this sort of guitar music comes in, and it's just kind of the rhythm of them clinking around and this kind of like simple guitar. That's what it was like filming with them.
That's sick.
It was just like this rhythm that just kind of, well, it always fit into place, you know. And I saw it the way that you see it on screen is how I saw it through the camera.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's aspects of it that sort of evoked a similar emotion out of me that like was in Drive with Ryan Gosling. Did you ever see that movie? And I'm not trying to compare the two, but
No, I see
there
what you mean though.
there's like this timelessness, even though the music feels like it's a part of a specific era. Like it sort of feels like late '80s, early '90s ish, but but it's also timeless. Like, yeah, I kind of got that vibe. Actually, on the second time I watched it twice in 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was
So many people have said they've watched it more than once. That's like to me, that is the ultimate compliment, dude, because
100%.
that blows me away because it just feels so because I've watched it so many times and I still watch it and I'm just like, oh, that just works so well right there. So like, you know, it's just very cool to hear that. So thank you, man.
Yeah, no, of course. One is I'm a fairly obsessive person, and two, I think it's one of those things where I don't know how I don't watch a lot of films more than once, just for the record. But it's like listening to a song, perhaps, or like especially like a live recording of a band, where you very oftentimes pick up things you didn't pick up the first time. Right now, with a movie, it could be either be like visual or auditory or both. Right, and I think with that is probably the main motivator behind me watching it twice. And then the other was like me kind of cold DMing you to be like, dude, it was like in the middle of watching it the second time that I DM'd you. I was like,
Yeah, I love that, dude.
I have to fucking reach out to this guy because this is incredible. Like, so thank you for answering the DM, first of all.
Yeah, dude.
uh,
I mean, I'll be honest with you, dude. Like, those are so important to me. You know, I mean, I've been getting, especially since last Monday, just maybe thousands of messages, and they're so fucking important, man.
yeah,
For my work, they're important for my soul. You know, they're just important for my heart because I mean, and people know it. You know, that's the thing too. Is like I get these dudes writing me these like heartfelt messages, like you know, and these are just normal dudes. You know, guys that are like mechanics or you know accountants or lawyers or whatever, and they're just like, you know, I just had to reach out to you and just tell you like you know, I'm not really like an emotional person, but your film was just like hit me, man. So thank you.
yeah,
You know, because I put my heart and my soul into that film, you know, and that's why I made it the way that I did. And that's why I told all the like Hollywood producers that wanted to be a part of it, but wanted to change it. I told them to, you know, to piss off because, you know, it had to be done my way, because it was my story.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those DMs, I mean, I read them, I answer them. I mean, as many as I can, and you know, they're very important. So I'm glad you made it you made it over that way.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. This might be a throwaway, but was it always your plan to narrate it yourself?
Yeah. That was like an 11 and a half hour decision because some people know this is part of the lore of the film is that I had announced in January of like 2024 that the film was done. And it was like I made this like video in the Naito's garage, and I was like, the film is finished. Updates will come soon. But and the film there was an edit of the film done last year, but it was not good. And
Oh,
I started sharing it with people, and the response was not good.
interesting.
You can tell, I can tell now what happens when a film is good. When a film is good, it just kind of it picks up and it sort of takes off onto its own. And when a film is not good, it's sort of like it just walks off of a cliff and you don't see it again. And like a lot of things, actually, that was right after that was when, I mean, I don't know, should I spoil it? I mean, I don't know if I want to spoil what happens in the film because it's sort of an emotional sort of crux of the film, but there was
I have an idea. I have an idea. Let's spoil it, but let's do it this way. If you're listening to this and you have not seen the film, press pause and go watch the freaking film because you should do it anyway. And if you haven't already, you're already behind. So now play. So what were you going to say?
Yeah, so that last edit that I had, the first edit of the film, which was done last year, it just didn't work. And Masao was upset because it was like, okay, well, you said it's done, but it's not going anywhere. What's happening?
Hmm.
And I was at the workshop filming other stuff, and he just got, cranky and was like, what the hell is Ben doing here? When is the movie coming out? I don't want Ben here until the movie's out.
Hmm.
So, yeah, basically said, be gone with you. And it was just, so a lot of things like that happened. A lot of like work fell through and a lot of relationships went sour and people were like, what the hell? And I could just tell it was like people saw it and it was like it just didn't have that magic.
So was there something somebody specifically said to you that said like, look, man, this needs another go in the cutting room, Or like, how did you know it wasn't good?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put him on blast on a podcast.
Well, then he can remain nameless.
Well, no, it's not. It's better if I name him because he's been such a mentor and a creative force in my life. It was actually Hiroki Nakamura.
Oh, no way.
And so, because he knows the family, because he knows my work and he loves my work, he can be honest with me. And he and I have the type of relationship where, if something's not working, he'll tell me, and he's opened it up for me to tell him. And so it's been for me creatively, my whole sort of creative life changed after I made that film about Hiroki for Type 7.
Sure.
And that was very, very much a collaborative thing between he and I. And so he's watched me work on this film and he saw that last cut. And basically, we just had lunch one day and, he didn't mince words. He was just like, look, maybe you should just stick to making short films.
Wow.
And maybe you're making that film for somebody else. And maybe that's why it doesn't work. And so, I mean, it hit me so hard.
You're making that film for somebody else, meaning you're not making it for yourself. Is that what he
Meaning my
means?
heart's not in it.
Right, right,
Meaning I'm trying to like tick a bunch of boxes to make a Hollywood movie.
right, sure.
Yeah, so that's the biggest sort of takeaway from that whole thing was that it hurt, but he was right. He was right. My heart wasn't in it. And so and I just started talking to people. I just started calling friends at all hours of the day and night and just saying, you know, what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I talked to a few people. One of those people was my buddy David, who is an artist named Death Spray. And he and I just like, I made a film about him too. But he and I have just been kind of like, I can call him and just talk about like, colors and sounds, for like a half an hour. And so, he just he started talking to me about my work with the Nitos, and I started just kind of like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to sort of put it into words exactly how it came to be, but
Mm-hmm.
essentially I started telling these stories to these friends of mine, David being one, Kyoko being another. I started talking to them about my stories with the Nitos, and they were like, Ben,
Why isn't that in the movie? Yeah.
this is what people want to know.
Yeah.
And so essentially what I did is I just started taking stories and writing stories, and that then became the voiceover. So to answer your question, no, I didn't always intend on putting my voice in the film, but I realized towards the end that I had to.
It's such a great cadence, man. Like the delivery, and I would imagine some of that just comes down to editing, but it's really really well done. And I think the way that it's delivered is just so sort of succinct, matter of fact that it's like, look, this is what it is. And there's a tone to your voice, and there's a tone to the delivery that makes it emotional, I feel like. When you're hearing stories, either as children or adults, I feel like how the story is told, not just the words, but the delivery is a lot to do with how you feel. And I can only speak for myself, I guess. I should caveat this, but I feel like your voice, your cadence, your delivery, and how it's cut it's really impactful. So David and Kyoko were right,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you'll agree.
Well, I mean, it was honestly, it was pretty tough, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I just, I never imagined that I was going to put my voice into the film, but I realized, well, number one, the Nitos are not storytellers, they're mechanics and they're just normal people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was relying on them to tell a story and sort of cut together what they were saying to tell this story. And it worked to a degree, but it didn't have really the soul and the sort of like just the sort of depth that it needed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, when I watch them work, when I'm in Japan, there's so many things that are going through my mind that yeah, I felt like if I left that out, it was a disservice.
Yeah.
I left out all of these sort of like these bits about how they work, the fact that they wake up early in the morning. Like they're never gonna, you know, like for instance, there's one line of narration in the film where I talk about how the family, how Masao raised his three children in the apartment that's above the workshop, the current workshop. There's still,
With all the kudzu on it.
yeah, there's like, yeah, they don't live up there anymore, but they did live up there. The kids were born and raised in that apartment up there that's still above the workshop. And, you know, the line of narration is like, in this tiny apartment above the workshop, the Naito family, you know, ate together, you know, whatever, and built a business together. And so it's like they would never, they would never say that in
Right.
that distinct kind of like impactful way. And so I was like, I could just drop out about 10 minutes of them talking and just have that one line. And it just is like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It just works. So, Yeah, and then I bought a really, really nice microphone to make my voice sound as good as possible. So,
Sennheiser?
yes.
Yeah, nice. I'm on the Shure SM58 because, if it's good enough for any punk band to drop it and throw it, it's good enough for me. But
Yeah, when
yeah,
I
anyway.
DJ, those were the best mics because you could, if you needed to take care of any other kind of business with a hard object, you could use that thing.
Yeah, dude, these things are bomb proof. It's crazy. What would you consider was the hardest part of making this film?
The editing,
Yeah.
by far.
Just because you had to do it again?
Well, but I mean, yeah, and then just editing. I mean, just think about all the,
Yeah. How many hours of footage would you say you have?
I don't know, man. I mean, I have 70 terabytes.
Jesus. Wow. That's insane. All right. So you claim you're not a car guy at the beginning of the film. Are you now?
Well, I mean, yeah, I love cars. I love the people around cars. I love the world of cars. And I just love like the magic of a combustion engine,
Mm-hmm.
the magic of a handcrafted car. I love work. Really, that's what I love. And that's what made the work and the filming of cars so easy is that I was always fascinated by work.
Mm-hmm.
Work with your hands, creative work. And so the car thing was very simple because it was like, dude, look at these guys working on these cars. It's so cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. The magic of the combustion engine is a great description because it's magic to me, and I think the olfactory experience is just man. Sometimes when I back my car into the garage and I turn it off, and before I go in my house, I know this sounds crazy, but like I just sit there and smell it sometimes. Like it's just kind of you know, I just love the whole experience. It's really great. Um, what else would you say you've learned from Hiroki? I mean, I'm a huge Visvim fan. I would own more if I had more money, of course. His vision, his execution is actually what I appreciate most, I think. Actually, how the clothes are made with the quality that they're made, et cetera, et cetera. What are like some of the takeaways you've I guess borrowed and or learned from him over I guess 7 years at this point?
Yeah, well, I've been working with Hiroki probably a little bit less than I've been working with the Naitos, but
Okay,
a few years for them to convince him to, to work with me.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, I mean the biggest, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, he's the most honest person I've ever worked with. I mean, he has an ability to just kind of zero in on what matters and just ignore everything that doesn't. Um, and then I would say probably the strength to say no.
Mm.
I mean, there were a couple instances where companies, car companies, which will be left unnamed, came to me asking me to do things or, offering me money to do things.
Hmm.
It just didn't feel right and I didn't like it.
Right.
I said, Just say no."
Yeah.
And you know, if you do something for them and you don't like the way that it's working, just say no.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it was like the most powerful thing because it's like, you know, as like an artist, like as somebody that's creative, if you don't sort of stand your ground in a meaningful way, it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, but for you yourself, it's kind of like this self-fulfilling thing where it's like, I'm here
Yeah.
and this, I'm going to do this my way.
He doesn't do many interviews, I can assure you.
What's that?
Hiroki doesn't do many interviews as far as saying no goes. I'm
I'm
sure
sure
he's
he's
asked,
asked,
right?
right? Says no to everybody.
Yeah. Do
Right, but I
you?
mean that's part of his sort of mystery, you
Well,
know.
that's what I was going to ask you. Is that part of the mystique, or is it because he's literally not interested, or both?
Well, I mean, he does interviews. I mean, I saw him. He was interviewed by Car and Driver a couple weeks ago at Laguna Seca.
Oh, was he? Okay, I missed that. All right.
Yeah, they wanted to interview him about his racing and his this bus that he had parked out there. So, um, but yeah, I mean, he actually is just a really down to earth guy. It's just that, as I'm sure you can understand, there's a lot of people that are coming at him
Right.
trying to get a piece of him or trying to work with him. So he's inundated with stuff. And so sometimes it's better for him just to create, a bit of a shell around himself so that he can be free to do his work.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. You were actually seated at that table in front of the bus when I walked up there, and Hiroki was there with his wife, and everybody
Oh,
was
really?
sitting there. Yeah. I just again, I'm not. I know that he and like people like yourself, even I guess, have people coming at them and with their hands out, so to speak, and like I've always just been such a fan that I was like reluctant to even introduce myself because I just don't want to like be a fanboy in front of him.
Sure, sure, I understand.
But also like I'm usually not shy about that kind of thing. Usually I'm like, hey man, I'm Wesley. I have a brand. You know, you're a big inspiration to me, and leave it at that. Like not ask him for anything, but just the way that the vibe was at that table, I was like, there's like a
Plexiglass.
plexiglass, like I'm not penetrating this aura that is before me. And what's funny is like the manager of the LA stores, or I guess of California, the like regional guy, I sat and talked to him because I met him before. And yeah, he's a great guy. So we sat and chatted, and it's funny because I was like, man, how old's this van, or how old's this bus? And Hiroki actually is like, oh, I got it like 4 years ago or something like that. So I mean, he said something to me, but I didn't say anything to him, which is hilarious. But yeah, dude, huge fan of what he does, and I mean, obviously taste, cars, motorcycles, everything. It's just like, and then the truest sense of the Japanese way. It's like it's got to be authentic. It's got to be OG, original, like the way it was in period. Um, which I think is what the Naitos do exquisitely well.
Yeah.
What how would you describe your relationship with Japan now? Because I imagine you probably feel really at home there.
Yeah, I really love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could move there, I think.
Yeah, one of the things too is that I really I don't spend much time in the kind of like central Tokyo area, I'm really on the kind of outskirts of the city and
Hmm.
you know, but yeah, I love working over there. I love shooting over there. I love the people and the food and um, but again, I mean I am like I'm starkly aware when I'm there that I'm different.
Not Japanese, yeah.
Yeah, and that I don't fit in and that I get away with certain things because I'm not Japanese. And so that affords me a bit of freedom and it affords me this sort of ability to disappear, which I
Yeah.
really appreciate. Especially as a filmmaker and a filmmaker who likes to just take his time, I really, really appreciate the fact that I can just stand on the street and just film something and not be inundated or have people like sometimes kids would be like hello or speak because everybody speaks English over there now, especially kids,
Yeah.
so they'll say stuff or whatever, but it's always very lighthearted stuff. But like I really, really appreciate the fact that I can like you know I don't know, man. I have been so fortunate to have the sort of access to that world that I do. I'm so grateful to Hiroki and to the whole Visvim staff who at first were very, very sort of trepidatious and very kind of standoffish about me, but over the years have really just become such great people and they're so helpful and like, you know, I mean, yeah, it's hard to kind of put it into words because I've found myself in situations in Japan that Japanese people are like, how did you do that? Like,
Yeah.
how did you get these people to be in front of your camera? Or how did you get let into this place? And so, yeah, again, I mean, as an American, as an outsider, I'm afforded a bit of sort of leniency in those respects, but also, um, it's just, for whatever struggles the Japanese and Japan as a country are having, there's a soul and like just a sort of innate kind of like, you know, goodness about those people and their culture that I really, really appreciate and respect. And so I always work as hard as I can to like, on the one hand, be this kind of like bumbling, funny looking American goofball in their like perfect society. But I also am very, very respectful and I sort of, you know, I've learned how to, you know, interpret the subtlety of their sort of societal kind of, you know, norms that I can kind of blend in a weird sort of way where I can understand if, most, I don't want to give too many examples, but that's basically it, is that I have learned how to, and with the help of, the people that I know and the Naitos, and I've learned how to kind of interpret things in their culture that, you know, allowed me to kind of be very respectful and sort of watch from a distance,
Sure.
not try to sort of like impede upon
Right.
what they have working.
Yeah, I mean they internalize a lot, and I think it's not really cultural to be the opposite of that. So I think, yeah, um, that's nice.
It's weird because as an American, if I go into a restaurant or a store by myself, my presence alone causes them to sort of step outside of their norm.
Mm,
And that can be very difficult for some Japanese people because even if I don't speak perfect Japanese, but even if I did, they don't know. And so they have to sort of then interpret, you know, me and how to deal with me. And so just my presence sometimes can sort of disrupt what's happening.
yeah.
I have to be respectful and understand that, and I do. And so, but it's been great, I've had really, really, I mean, my whole experience there has been positive. I mean, I think one time I had an issue with the border, police when I was actually leaving the country with a drone, and they were like, they had some rule about it. So I don't bring drones there anymore. But yeah, I mean, that was really the only sort of like difficulty I've had in the country.
Hmm. What's your favorite meal there?
Probably yakiniku. They're like sort of grilled. It's kind of like the Korean barbecue style beef, like group of people cooking in front of each other, and
Okay.
yeah, or yakitori
Yeah,
something.
yakitori. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you're working long days and you're shooting for like 10 hours, if you eat a lot of like wheat or rice, it just kind of like you gotta like drag by the end of the day. So very, very protein heavy diet, is kind of the way to go for me.
Yeah. Well, Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. This has been a ton of fun, and I really dig getting the sort of behind the scenes, if you will, of pardon the pun, of the movie. But is there anything that like we didn't talk about, or you want to highlight or promote, be it a part of the film or otherwise?
I don't know, man. I mean, I just, uh yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm really excited about people watching the film. I mean, it's totally independent pictures, so, how it's getting out there is all kind of on my shoulders. But yeah, man, I mean, I think we covered a lot. We covered a lot of stuff, so
Cool. Nice. So how could people find out about the film? I mean, I watch it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I mean it's on Amazon. I prefer people to watch it on Apple actually because the way the subtitling works on Apple or on Amazon is kind of a pain in the ass. So Apple's a great way to watch it. I'm also going to make the film available on my site as well soon. And that's where you can also find like I got a book that I made in conjunction with the film, so you can find that on my site. And yeah, so
I pre-ordered it already.
what's that?
I pre-ordered it, I think, already.
Did you? You're the man, dude.
I was one of the pre-orders even before I watched the movie. I
I mean,
think.
I can't believe how well it's selling, dude. It's like we're hoping to ship out in the next week, but obviously, I mean, things shipping stuff is taking so long right now.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping I'll get an update about the shipping today or tomorrow, but it may take another week or two. But anyways, because I got it printed in the UK, um, so yeah, so it's gotta be imported, uh, and that is just proving to be difficult in 2025.
yeah, no kidding. I forgot to ask you, what's your daily driver these days?
My daily driver is my F-150.
Okay,
Also, my CRF 450R is I ride quite a bit.
nice,
Um, I have a supermoto. I love motorcycles, so
cool.
that's the other reason I moved to Idaho, dirt bikes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So you're not like a BMW GS guy.
No.
You
I
didn't.
mean, those bikes are so heavy, man.
Yeah, they're big.
I mean, it's like I like to be out on the dirt, but I like to like just be loose, you know? And if
Yeah,
like if you fall down with a GS, it's like, all right, that's it. Like then my day is done.
right, right,
But if you're in a rut and you go down on your 450, you're like, oh, let me just like dust off.
right, right.
You can get back up and, depending on how old you are, you can get
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, buddy. Well, listen, have a great evening.
Yeah, you too, man.
Thank you. All right,
All right,
see ya.
see ya.
This wraps up this episode of the Standard Age podcast. If you like what you heard, I'd love it if you'd share it with a friend or two. And if you have a moment, please rate and review the show as it helps others discover these episodes. It absolutely helps far more than you realize. Shout out to Jensen Reed and Super Beautiful for the theme track. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.